Welcome to Hubcast by Impact Hub Lagos, a podcast for the Nigerian innovator, changemaker, and entrepreneur. In each episode, we will bring to you exciting and inspiring content where we will share knowledge, insights, opportunities, and real innovator stories from Impact Hub Lagos community. As the bloodline of our economies, entrepreneurs need to be supported and given every opportunity and resource to succeed. It is our mission to empower you from intention to impact. This week, we will be speaking to Osasenaga Enogieru. He has extensive experience driving innovation programs in innovation hubs and large corporations as a consultant. He has been an innovation coach and has helped set up more than 150 innovative entrepreneurs in sub-Saharan Africa by running startup mentoring programs at Enspire and Wennovation Hub. In this episode, we discussed how startups can prepare themselves for investment opportunities, the various ways to find funding, and some common mistakes startups make when fundraising. Hello everyone, my name is Adeze Nwadike, Communications Lead at Impact Hub Lagos, and you are listening to Hubcast. Today I have with me Osas. He's a partnership lead at Impact Hub Lagos, and today we're going to be talking about fundraising for your SME, or as I like to call it, Fundraising 101. Hi Osas, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Adeze. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your work at Impact Hub Lagos?
Okay, so my name is Enogieru Osasenaga, but popularly known as Osas. I came into the ecosystem at about 2015, started a business in Abuja, failed in the business, and I had to move into the street. And yes, I practically slept on the street for about 2 weeks. At the end of the day, I was able to crawl my way back into the system. Then I got to meet people who help people build businesses, as it were. Worked there for a couple of years, and finally I'm actually here. So currently I work with Impact Hub. For the last 5 years, I've actually been working with businesses. My role at Impact Hub is focused on facilitating partnerships for the businesses to scale, access to market, and finance.
Oh, thank you. That sounds very interesting. Your work sounds really interesting. So can you, you said that you are passionate about partnerships, right? Can you tell us why partnerships are so important, especially from a funding perspective for small businesses? We all think that we know why partnerships are important, but Can you tell us in your own words, why is it so important for small businesses that are looking for funding to build really strong partnerships?
Okay. The way I would explain it, I would say you can only go as far as people you know, technically. So if the people you know are limited to your friends and families, then imagine that when the purchasing power of those persons are exhausted, when they reach the climax of their purchasing power, there's no additional income or revenue that comes into your business. And so hence it's key for you to actually get partnerships. When you pursue partners as a business, you are tapping into a vast resource of expertise like you've never seen before, better ways of doing things, people who have actually told that road before, people who have gone through the road you're actually trying to take, people who have failed in the process before, so you learn from their mistakes. You have access to other markets by virtue of the fact that you're actually reaching out beyond your comfort zone, beyond your network. You're leveraging on your network's network. So the market that typically is on a normal day it's not within your reach, you get to access it. Think of it also as the power of the crowd, at the power of crowd at the end of the day. So if, for instance, on my WhatsApp I have just 200 persons, but my communication on my market is limited to those 200 persons. However, if I'm able to leverage on those 200 individuals, I can actually take it a step further to access over 20,000 persons. But I need to build a robust partnership between myself and the first barrier, which is the 200 persons, in order for me to access the others. So it's very critical. You have access to expertise, you have access to growth and scaling into new markets, you have access to new customers, and of course, at the end of you have this ability to hack the growth process in terms of how far or how fast you're able to achieve growth.
So let's take it back to the beginning. I'm in an SME or a small business. I'm just starting out and I'm looking to build new partnerships.
Yeah.
But specifically for fundraising purposes or for funding purposes, right? So at the very beginning stages, what are some foundational things that I need to have as a business or as a small organization that when I'm seeking out those types of partnerships?
Okay. So for me, I would say the first thing you need to actually get right is your story. You need to really be very clear about your story. What exactly are you coming to offer? So this is who I am, this is what I am coming to offer, and this is what I want from you. If you're able to be very clear as to what you want, who you are, and all the metrics, believe me, it will be very easier for you to actually identify who those partners are. So if I know, for instance, that I'm providing financial inclusion to farmers, for instance, my business venture focuses on providing financial inclusion to farmers. I know what I want. I need to align with a banking partner, for instance. Because I'm very clear about that, because I know the pains the farmers actually go through with regards to having access to finance, to access input for their farming activities, I'm able to capture the heart of the financial partner in this case. And at the end of the day, because of the fact that I can relate with the story, I can relate with the pains of the farmers, I have an understanding, I have a grasp of what exactly people go through locally. It's easier for me to relate same to partners. So that's the first part. You need to get your story very clean, very clear, straight to the point. Moving on from there, then you need to focus on actually building the networks you have. So starting from where you have, starting from what you want, then you build beyond there. Focus on the resources that are at your disposal. You have your LinkedIn account. Let me be very practical. If I was going to pursue access to financial institutions, still going with that example, I would largely focus on LinkedIn, for instance. This is based on the fact that I do not have any direct access to anybody who works in the bank or something. I'll go on LinkedIn for those persons who, who work in the agri decks of a particular new generation bank, maybe Fidelity Bank or any of the banks, FCMB, who support agriculture. Go to this person's LinkedIn profile the agri-decks, look for those persons who are the top members or top management members, C-level managers and what have you. Reach out to them, follow what they're doing, try and find some form of familiarity amongst both of you, then create a conversation. So again, first thing is get your story right. The second level is actually building your network. So start from what you have, then move over to the next stage, which is what you don't have. So this is what I have. These are the gaps. So how do I get there? And largely, which is the third point, I can confidently say that 70% of the successes of closing partnerships exist in the follow-up. So someone gives you a complimentary card, you follow up, you send the person your pitch deck, the person asks you to book a date or book a meeting for him, you actually follow up with such. So you find out that a lot of persons actually do not just follow up. They hit the first roadblock and they choose to, let me close this or let me end this conversation. But you find out that if you're able to push through just those first 3, 4, 5, 6 steps, because this person is actually busy, a lot of persons actually have other things to do. So you need to actually tell them that I'm worth your time, I'm worth the effort, I'm worth this partnership. And so you have to be very, very insistent. So you keep going. Again, to reiterate, get your story right. Make the story very clear. Number 2 is working on your networks. You need to ensure that you continuously grow your network. You can use LinkedIn, you can use every other social media platforms that are there. And this is speaking from the point of this is what you have at your disposal. You could also leverage on events, attend events of agriculture, attend events that are specific to your industry, attend activities of conferences that people who you're targeting will most likely be attending. And the third one would be always follow up. Whatever it is you're doing, you promise to send an email, follow up with that response. You promise to send your pitch deck, ensure you do that.
Thank you for that. I wanted to ask, so you said you have to get your story right? So when you're approaching people or you're approaching organizations saying, hey, I want you to come on board, I want you to be my partner, I want you to be my financer, they're going to ask you, how much money do you want?
Yep.
Right? Have does an organization set those targets for how much money that they're trying to raise, especially when they're just starting out? They might not necessarily have the whole big picture of where everything is going to go. So how do you set those targets for fundraising? Okay,
so for fundraising targets, one of the rule of thumb I give to startups is this. So you look at where you are currently. Say our customer base is just 100 users. We have just 100 users in our customer base. So to manage these 100 users, we have a team strength of, say, 2 persons, for instance. We intend growing up to 10,000 users within the next 12 months. At that 12th month, at the 12th month, we want to be having 10,000 users. To manage 10,000 users, we will need a team of about, say, 12 persons or 20 persons, as the case may be. So you start projecting into the 12th month and saying, okay, what exactly are the resources I need at that 12th month to accommodate the 10,000 persons? What kind of infrastructure, equipment do I need to, manage that growth at that 12th month? So you project into the future, then you create that budget or create that certain amount, and you bring it back here and say, okay, if I should take that resource I will most likely have at 12 months. If I have it at month 1, I can actually hack the process. So I can actually achieve a year's growth by virtue of just having these resources. Then I take the calculation, I take that amount, and I take it to the market, or I take it to look for partnerships and investment. And I say, okay, if you give me 50,000 USD now for, say, 5% of my business, I can achieve in 1 month what I would normally achieve in 1 year. I can actually make 10x of what I would actually make if I was to go through this process of, breaking my back. So that's actually a rule of thumb I would recommend for businesses who are actually looking out to fundraise.
Thank you for that insight. So we've spoken about building your network and following up and things like going to banks and dropping, your proposals. But some of those seem like some of the more traditional means of looking for investment. So can you talk a little bit more about some of the non-traditional alternatives that you have to finding investment or financing for small businesses?
Okay, so for small business finance, or SGBs as we call them, small growing businesses, there exists a wide variety of financial or funding instruments. But again, I would say you start from what exactly is common or what's prevalent for your level. So if you're an idea-based business, you're still at the ideation stage. We do not expect you should go to the bank to look for funding. So there are specific funding instruments you should use, one of which is your friends and families, donation from your friends and families, personal savings, research grants, because it's still in the idea stage. Nobody's going to, bring in money and say, hey, I'm giving you this money because I believe in you. The only persons who will believe in you to that extent are, say, your friends, your families, or the fools who literally can put their money in something they cannot physically see an evidence of. So that's the first stage, which is the idea stage. Moving on to the next stage, which is when you have a product. There's a different stage or sector you can actually, or financial instrument you can access. Friends and family still there. Now you can actually approach the angel investors, because now you have an MVP, or you have something, prototype to take into the market. You have your first set of customers, because to build your MVP, you literally took feedback from customers. You're literally taking feedback from customers or users, first users. So we're looking at, okay, yes, let's approach angel investors. However, there's also something I should add here, which is one very uncommon funding of financing instrument for small businesses, which is something I've worked with for the last 3 years, which is crowdfunding. Using crowdfunding, we've been able to fundraise for over 300 SMEs in Nigeria, in excess of 1,000 USD, just enough to build their first prototype, take their first product to the market. So as low as 1,000 USD to as high as 20,000 USD, fundraising through the process of crowdfunding. One of the beautiful things I'll tell businesses who go through crowdfunding is that it is not how much you raise, because despite, even if you raise your seed round, for instance, even if you raise your seed round, the highest or the longest that money is going to stay, which is maybe a couple of months. It's not about how much you raise during this process, but actually it's who you become in the process. Because for you to actually carry out a successful crowdfunding campaign, it literally breaks you. You're more target driven. You're more confident. You build your confidence in your product. You're able to sell or tell more persons about what you're doing. I mean, you literally are nursing the power of the crowd to raise funds, number one. And in the process, you're telling more persons about what you do. So you're actually also marketing your product. So what we've seen actually is that people who actually participate in crowdfunding and become successful, when I say successful, I'm talking of people who achieve target between 50 to 100% or even more. And let's say above 50%. What you find out is that businesses like this tend to be in existence post the 1 year debt value of that's common in the ecosystem today. So that's one unconventional, one very new method of that's gradually gaining ground in ecosystem. So that's one. I didn't mention research grants at the beginning. Research grants, it's not very predominant in Nigeria. It's not very common in Nigeria. However, there are a ton of research grants that are available to businesses in the idea stage. They can actually access this research grant. Google actually provides some research grants for businesses in the tech industry. There's research grants specific to the renewable energy sector. So you can actually apply for this. And what you're literally applying for is saying, hey guys, I have this idea and I need some funding to actually test if this idea is viable, if the solution would be viable, or if it will actually solve the problem. So you're literally collecting money from these institutions who have provided funds for R&D. At the end of the day, you're building your product. You're taking this product to market. There's no obligation whatsoever to the institution, because these institutions who provide these research grants are actually doing so because they want to advocate or they want to advance the development of solutions in their sector. So you can actually also leverage on such. And of course, there are a host of other. One I will also make mention of, least I forget, is the fact that you can actually ask your customers, if you're very confident about the product you're taking to the market, if you're very confident about the product you're taking to market, you can actually have pre-orders for your product. So have customers pay ahead for products that will come in. So you can see a lot of startups who have actually told this line, whereby they tell them, hey, our product is going to be released on the 25th of, say, December 2020, but you can actually pay ahead for it. Now, the customers bring the money for the initial processes, the initial building the stock, and so you're able to build your stock, build inventory, and of course, by December 25th, you actually supply. So you make your profit at the end. That's technically you getting a loan, but you're not paying interest.
So I'm really intrigued by the idea of crowdfunding, because I feel like it's such an interesting concept, and it's really based on people trusting your idea and trusting your business, even though they've never encountered you before. And it's different from the research grant where someone is doing it out of their goodwill because they want to advance the sector, or because they're a customer of yours and they trust you already. So when some SME is trying to carry out a successful crowdfunding campaign, what are some important things that they need to do to kind of build trust and to promote their product or their service in a way that would motivate people to support them?
Right. So I would say there are three things or three reasons people would actually support your business. So your crowdfunding campaign, pardon me. The first is the story. What story are you taking into the market? So people believe in stories. People believe in stories that relate with them. So we had someone who says he wants to raise funds to go back to school or to go and do an MSc at the end of the day. So people donated to him because they can relate with his story. So me saying I want to raise funds to build my business, people who maybe are in my sector who can relate to that experience. Oh yes, I've actually failed in doing this business before. So it's the story that actually buys people's attention at first. The second reason people would actually want to support your crowdfunding campaign is the person behind the campaign. So your personality, are you cocky, are you friendly, are you whatever peculiarities exist around your personality can actually make people actually want to donate for you. So if you're the friendly person, you're fun to be with, it's very easy for you to actually get people to support your business because it's the person. The third reason is the business itself. Is the business itself viable? Does the business look successful? Does it show potential results? Like, is it going to really transform life? So if, for instance, we have a business who's bringing a solution that enables us to have 24 hours electricity, by virtue of the fact that it's solving a very huge problem, you find out that people would actually want to throw their support for the business. I would want to support such a business. I would want to perform for such a business because at the end of the day, I'm affected by such a problem. You understand? So I look at the business itself. Is it something that really speaks to something that affects me? Is it something that actually affects me? Just to reiterate the personality again, it could also come from the angle of what has the person achieved before now. So if, say, somebody who has been successful in a particular business comes forth and say, hey, I want to raise funds again, I'm currently crowdfunding for a new business, it's very easy for us to rally around the person because we've seen the person has built a track record of successful businesses. You understand? The person has been successful in a previous business. So I would definitely jump on the bandwagon and actually support such a business. So these are the three reasons people support you if you're actually crowdfunding. So back to your question as what exactly are the first steps, or what exactly I should look out for, or what exactly I should do if I'm actually going to crowdfund. I would say get a feasible target. Get a target that is feasible. When I say get a feasible target, I'm not saying you should. So there are different stages in business. There's point A, there's point Z. So if you're going to fundraise or crowdfund, as it were, I'll ask you to focus on how do I move from point A to point B. Because that's actually realistic. It's realistic. Or point C, from A to point C, rather than from point A to Z, as it were. So you literally don't have anything. You don't have a proof of concept. You just want to go and crowdfund, and when we look through your breakdown of crowdfunding, your budget for crowdfunding, we are seeing you want to buy a car, you want to do some absurd things, you understand? So focus on the interim. So how do I get from this stage to the next stage? So get a very feasible amount. The second point will be get a tangible deadline. So typically I would advise 30 days. So I'm going to crowdfund for 30 days. It's short, it's precise, it gives that sense of urgency, you understand? And it gives you room for you to do so many things, because it's 30 days. You can actually do events, you can, host launchings, you can bring your friends together, you can go hiking and ask people to pay a gate fee, and 50% of the gate fee actually supporting your business. The remaining 50% is for the hike logistics as well. So you need a very tangible deadline, something you can actually meet. And of course, you need the team. You need people around you, so you need friends. I would say you get campaign ambassadors. They don't necessarily have to fundraise, they don't have to give you funds or give you money, as it were. All they need to do is literally just tell people about what you're doing. Every day they are talking about it on Twitter, on social media, telling their friends as well. You need campaign managers, people who would, bring out events. Hey, let's go on hiking, let's do a food tasting competition, or wine tasting competition, because we want to fundraise for our friend's business. Baby showers, similar to baby showers, so let's do something like this. So you need those campaign managers. And what you find out is, it's again harnessing the power of the crowd, because the more persons the more you're able to reach out to a larger market.
Thank you. That was a lot of good insights, and like you said, I'm very interested in crowdfunding, especially because I think it's just such a good way for people to raise money outside the establishment and do things in their own way. So that's something I think more businesses should look into.
Absolutely.
So we talked about what people can do, when organizations can do when they're trying to raise funding, and how they can go about it. Let's talk about some of the common mistakes that people make when they are crowdfunding. Can you highlight some mistakes that people make and how to avoid them?
Okay, I'll say one of the very popular mistakes we've seen is there are setting targets. Again, like I stated before, so you're going from point A to point Z, rather than looking at within, what's the next few steps? What do I need for the next few steps? The reason why I am very particular about, focusing on the next few steps is because you're still a small business, there's a certain amount of cash inflow that would disrupt or destroy your business, as it were. There are certain injections of funds that would actually, let's say you've not built the right structures to absorb such amount. So if you're still at the idea stage, you've not been able to perfect processes. There's certainty that if I should inject a very significant amount of money into your business, because there are no processes to actually absorb such magnitude of cash, you will literally be very extravagant in your spending. You will not be critical in what you're spending money on, or you will not be prudent. You literally just see the solution to every problem as, money can fix every problem. However, if you build processes for product development, if you build processes for customer acquisition, for instance, you build processes for procurement, when I inject a very huge amount of money into your business, what you find out is that these processes are already there. These processes already makes it easy for us to withstand that shock, that initial shock of, hey, we just got $100K USD from a particular donor. You understand? So we can actually accommodate same, because we've already built a process to enable us do what we are doing for the next 12 months. So we know that, this is actually how much we need for the next 12 months. We should not spend outside this amount unless there's going to be a corresponding growth increase. You understand? So we should not go outside this. So that's the first mistake I see people do. So they go out and they want to get as big, as high as possible. The next mistake I also see people do is that they tend to focus on the general public rather than their close networks. You understand? So even in crowdfunding, even in general fundraising, so they try to go outside and let me talk to people outside first before I come and talk to people inside. But the thing is, when you go meet someone outside and the person gives you a listening ear and the person comes to check you out and there's no friends and families around you or personal network around you, or people cannot vouch for you, it sends the red flag. So if, for instance, you approach an investor, say in Dubai, for instance, let's be very practical, and he tells you, so you're fundraising for your seed round of 100K. How much commitment have you gotten from Nigerian investors? And you don't have any Nigerian investor that has told you, I would commit, say, 5K USD. You understand? It just sends a red flag that, why exactly are the Nigerian investors not interested in you? This is a business that's actually based in Nigeria. You understand? Same thing with crowdfunding. So when I go to your platform, you tell me to come and fundraise for you, and I go to the platform, the GoFundMe link, and I check it. And let's say I see 0 donations. I ask you, so where are your friends and families? Do they not believe in what exactly you're doing? because they should be the first person to sign a check if they really believe in what you're doing. I mean, charity begins at home. So if at the end of the day we can't see people who are your immediate friends, who tend to know you more, rally around you for your personal projects, then it therefore tells that, there's something that we are not really seeing. You understand? So again, the first thing is people set unrealistic targets. The second thing is that they actually go outside first rather than starting from inside. So focus on your immediate at the end of the day, because if you're able to harness the power of your immediate surroundings or your immediate network, they can also become that matching man that helps you reach out to other persons, because they've tasted. For them to have actually contributed to it, it tells that they've tasted, and they are willing to actually tell their friends at the end of the day. The third point I would state is the fact that people tend to pursue fundraising, especially in industries where they are not actually strong in. You understand? Okay, let me give you an analogy. Let's say I am building an automobile solution, for instance. There are specific expectations for fundraising in the automobile industry. But by virtue of the fact that I am not very conversant with sort, I literally go there blindfolded. And as a result of that, when I get there, I get burnt. There could be parameters for fundraising. There could be restrictions to how exactly you're to fundraise in such a sector. So I would normally advise that you have that grasp of that particular sector you are planning to fundraise. Who are the persons who sign the biggest checks in those sectors? What's the frequency of them signing checks? Is there a trend to how they are signing these checks? Are there specific prerequisites for them signing checks? Are there growth metrics you need to attain before they sign these checks? So imagine, let me make it relatable. Imagine you're getting emails. I mean, it's very common in the hub. We get emails telling us, hey, I'm planning to do this, and I need so and so amount of money to do it. So, I have this idea, I want to take into the market. It's still an idea, and I need to raise about 20,000 USD, and I want to start discussing equity with you. And at the end of the day, it's a case of, first of all, you literally have shown that you don't have any understanding of what exactly we do or what the sector you're about to go in entails. Because if you're still at the idea stage, if you don't have no schematics, nothing to show, just an idea, and you're not also willing to tell us what exactly you're doing because you're scared that, hey, you steal my idea, you understand? What exactly are you bargaining with us? There's no room for discussion because we don't know what you're doing. You're telling us that you have a solution in the transport sector that is going to, shake the industry, but you're not telling us anything beyond that, and you're asking us to come give you 10 million, for instance, to be practical. At the end of the day, we will not make any headway. So in reality, you need to actually understand the sector or the space you're trying to play.
Thank you. Just so many gems today. And so we just have time for one more question before we have to round up. So we've spoken a lot about how to cultivate prospects when you are in the fundraising stage or you're looking for financing for your SME. So now, when you cultivate those relationships with organizations, with people, how do you make sure that those relationships remain strong? So I'll give you an example. So I'm raising money for my business and I reached out to this organization. They've given me 10 million. What do I do with that contact now? Even though they've already given me the money and I'm trying to do my reporting and they're doing M&A and everything. Yeah. Beyond that stage, right? How do we, because we might need them in the future.
Absolutely.
Or someone else might need them in the future that's in my network. How do we make sure that those relationships stay strong and healthy and last? How do we build sustainable relationships? Really, that's the question.
I think one of the best ways I can actually, expand on that or speak to that would be when you come from the angle of you putting yourself in the shoes of the donor himself. So I'm the one you're the one who signed a check for someone else. How best would you want this person to be in your good books? You understand? So what would this person need to do to actually be in your good books? So one of the first things you see is that communication is very key. I need to see that something is going on. I need to see that, yes, despite the fact that, and this is even speaking to the fact that, yes, you've gotten the money, I might have even cashed out, I might have even done the projects and all, you get, but I still get that frequent update of see how far we've gone. So we've had some very amazing startups that do this, you understand? As soon as they've gotten their proof of concept, they've gotten their first set of customers, they build the database of partners that they will regularly, on a monthly basis, they send updates to. See what we're able to achieve this month, see what we're able to do this month. This way our challenges, but see how we are planning to overcome these challenges in the coming months. So what we've seen over time is that helps keep them in the forefront of those partners. So the partners are regularly aware, so they know what exactly is happening. Even if they do not check their emails or they don't go through the marketing material, at any point, if they have that flash thought of, hey, I need to, what's going on with this person, they have a reference. They can actually just dig it up from their emails. You understand? I would also state here that your best marketing material is somebody who is satisfied with doing business with you. You understand? That's like the best. That's the best person who can tell your story, because the person is coming from a point of, this was my personal experience. You understand? So if, for instance, let me go down to organization fundraising. I work with a partner. I've done this project. It went out successful. They are very happy. They are impressed. You understand? I take it a step further to also keep them informed of every other thing we are going on. Hey, if you recall this project we did with you guys 2 weeks ago, 2 years ago. So some of the products from that particular project, some of the businesses from that particular project just raised some additional funding. And so, it shows that, yes, we still have you in mind. So people see that, yes, that money or that funds or that partnership or that call, that link I gave to you is actually, it's still relevant till date. You understand? It's still viable, as it were. And so just because of that, you find out that they are willing to even come, do some more. And let's take it away from fundraising. Let's take it away from partnerships. Let's bring it down to, if I make a recommendation. So I need to access a particular industry and somebody makes a recommendation for me. Now, me going a step further to give him update and see how far this conversation has gone would make him more inclined to actually make future recommendations. However, if I go silent, I just go silent, I don't say anything, it will not tell well on me if he later finds out that, see how far that conversation grew and it was successful. You understand? So I'll say communication is very key, and this is where most startups do not get it right, to communicate with their partners, even their customers, their users and all that. So communication is very key to maintaining partnerships.
Okay, thank you so much, Osas. This has been such a great conversation. I really enjoyed this, and I learned a lot. So thank you for coming on. Thanks everyone for listening. Once again, I'm Ade Zenwadike, Communications Lead at Impact Hub Lagos, and you've been listening to Hubcast. Till next time.